The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast. This is episode number 134. We are live as always on YouTube, and thank you to everyone who's always joining out there. If you're new to the channel, new to the chat, then go ahead and say hello and tell us where you're from over in the live chat. We don't know that you're out there unless you say something. So if you're watching this in replay or listening to a podcast throughout the episode, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and use that comment section down below. We've got a couple more links out there that people might be able to join, and I know that some people are busy. Some people are actually at work, and I know that Travis is doing his makeup from last night. He missed Caliber Corner, so he's doing it. He did it about an hour ago, so he might still be going. If he's still doing that, then fantastic. But interesting that we're going to do tonight is I put a video out over the weekend as a kind of for new handgun owners, and it was kind of the top 5 maybe guns that might be good in my opinion for new gun owners and all that they might be able to look at. And went over very well, had some really cool comments. But one of the comments that we talked to that I had in that was from a guy who said that he and his wife had just bought their first handguns and are new to the gun community, new to guns and all of that. And, but was asking about the ARs. They said they're talking about maybe getting an AR, but didn't know much about them and kind of wanted to know, did I have a video out that kind of explained why ARs are so popular? And I've never had one of those videos out there because I never really thought about why they're so popular. And but I figured this would be a good topic. And an interesting thing enough, we were talking, kind of pre-show in the green room, Clover and I were, about some of the things that we take for granted, stuff that we know and we've talked about amongst ourselves and our knowledge of firearms. We take for granted that there are people to the gun community that are brand new that don't really know anything about it. And what we know about ARs and different things, other people are just finding out. So it's a good thing for us to kind of talk about. But before we do that, let's say hello to the panel that we have so far. From Carolina, we got the chief gearhead himself, and he kind of looks, I don't know, deer in the headlights. He looks scared. I'm not really sure what that look is, but he's giving us 2 thumbs up. What's up, Jeff?
Yeah, I stay scared. It's a self-preservation thing.
Well, it keeps you on your toes too,
Indeed. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Always. And from the great state of Texas, the tactical coronavirus himself. What's up, Clover?
Hey, I want to do something before I forget, because as the show goes on, I'll forget. I want to thank, and I don't see him out there anywhere, but Calaveras, the Tactical Pickle. Yep. He upgraded his Patreon. I think it was yesterday. He also won the Instagram trivia last night, so congrats to him for that. But yeah, in this time with everything going on, to still see support over there, and I know you're the same way, and I know Jeff and Gear Report has a Patreon and all that. So, I just want to say thanks to all the people that jump over there and support, especially in times like this where everybody's having a tough time. You know what I mean? So it means even more now than it does at any other time. So thank you for that, Pickle, and everybody else that's jumped on board lately.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll say thank you to Calaveras as well. He upgraded his patron to me as well. So speak of the devil, there he is out there. Calaveras 32 special.
We said his name too many times, I think.
Yep. Yeah. But we both want to thank you out there for upgrading your patronage, and we appreciate you very much. Before we get rolling here, let's do a quick shout out for the people that are out there. Give some time for the links to go out. I know Yankee's been doing a show every night, so I think he might be live tonight, I think. And I think I said Travis might be doing his, but we'll say hello to Jacob out there. And I love Jacob. Jacob is a young man. I think he's from Indiana, if I'm not mistaken, but he is new to the firearms world. And no matter if it's on this chat or whatever chat he's on, he asks questions. And I love that because he understands that he is trying to learn as much as he can. And he is asking great questions, not only for himself, but I think that they're helping other people as well. So thank you, Jacob, for being out there and always asking questions, because even though you might have the answer already, there's someone else out there that might be wondering the same thing. So I appreciate you very much. But Jacob's out there. We do want to send out some thoughts and prayers out to Jacob. He was cutting down a tree today, and one of the limbs that his uncle was cutting knocked him off the ladder, and he fell about 20 feet. And he's 70 years old. He's in the hospital with a splintered bone around his hip and a few cracked ribs. Maybe is able to go home tomorrow, so it's not going to be a dire situation, but he's going to be hurting and sore for a while. So we do want to send out our thoughts and prayers to Jacob and his uncle. So hope everything works out with it, buddy. Nighthog's out there. He says, evening all. Let's see here. Buck is out there. Gun-loving grandpa, for those that don't know. Budget says he is too swamped at work, can't join tonight. That's okay. I figured he's working eventually. You got the gun cleaners. Rod and Shelly Gates are good friends of all of us in here, and just good friends in general, but good to see them out there. Going to hopefully see them hopefully soon. It's been almost a year since we've hung out, so we'll do that. Sandhill Shooters out there. Sandhill is a self-proclaimed new AR owner. So I sent a link out. I sent, I think, if Sandy wants to join in, he certainly can before his show tonight. Mr. FNH out there says, sup, gun people. Sup, FNH. Guitar Man Pete says, a freaking ads. G23's out there. JJ's out there. What's up, JJ? Andrew Faulkner's out there. Pete out there does say that his last video was for his daughter. He sent her his personal carry gun as her first handgun. That is awesome. I love that. And Budget's out there talking about something with TFB. I don't know. But like I said, Sandy's out there. Let's see. Anybody else? George Washington, the former first president of the United States, is out there. So we're blessed to have George Washington. Mystic Guns out there. What's up, Mystic? You got Midnight Range TM. The Tactical Chef is out there. Jeff is out there. Brad Miller is out there. Brad is a gun shop owner that is around my area. So if you guys are in the area, go check out him. Let's see. Calaveras is out there. And I'm going to put the link out in the chat for, I know I can do this because I can do it in streaming and I can manage who comes in. This is for Sandy. So Sandy, once you're in here, I'll take this link out, but go ahead and jump in if you like. You don't have to stay forever. I know you got a show here coming up in a couple hours, but other than that, let's say hello to, once again, we already said hello to our panel, but let's kind of jump in. We were talking about this before, Jeff and Clover. You know, it's interesting, some of the comments you're getting on videos, and I'm sure you guys will do the same thing, but we're getting so many new gun owners that are asking questions. And I love that, because not only are they asking questions that are very, people need to know, but it makes me realize, I'm going to bring your opinion on this, both of you guys, but it makes me realize that, sometimes we do take for granted some of the stuff that we've gone through, that kind of we're maybe past that initial stage of asking about what different guns are and what they're good for and all of that. But it's nice to kind of refresh yourself a little bit and make you think about why these are important. Have you guys been seeing on your videos or emails or comments or anything? Have y'all been getting a lot of comments or questions from new gun owners?
I haven't really seen too much lately, but we don't really have a lot of very recent firearms video content out there. Yeah. Personally, though, I'm only like 5 years into playing with ARs myself, so While I do have a really bad memory for some things, I remember it wasn't that long ago that I was trying to learn all this AR stuff. It was all Greek to me. So,
Sure.
yeah. I mean, I was in the Air Force. They taught me how to take apart an M16, and they gave me, 30 rounds to play with at the range to qualify, and that was it. So,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did y'all have, I never asked this before, but did y'all have to qualify throughout the year, or how often did y'all qualify in the Air Force?
With the M16?
Yeah.
Basic training?
Oh, so you didn't, the rest of your time in, you didn't have to qualify?
The only time I touched an M16 twice when I was in the Air Force. Once was the classroom portion, which was, I think it was a half a day, and then we went in for a quick refresher. So like after lunch, we went into the classroom and they taught us everything about it, right? I mean, it's an M16. What is there to know? How to take it apart, how to put it back together. And then before we went to the range the next morning to qualify, we just popped in and did like a 30-minute review of what we had learned the day before. And then we marched over to the range, and they gave us, 30 minutes to shoot, and we were not allowed to flip the giggle switch. And that was it. Period.
You weren't even allowed to shoot in the 3-round bursts then, huh?
Not at all. No, it was terrible.
Interesting. Interesting, because I want to say the first 2 days of boot camp for us, we were going through the medical stuff, and they were depriving us. We didn't sleep the first 2 days. I think that was just kind of a mental test to see if we could handle it or whatever. But a lot of that was going through medical stuff, getting all of our gear issued, and getting into our squad bay, and kind of, I wouldn't call it getting acclimated, because you never really got acclimated, but getting acclimated to your surroundings and your new way of life, shall we say, with the drill instructors. And we got to meet the drill instructors, so that was interesting. But then about day 3, I think they issued us our rifle, and we had it with us every second of every day until we left. And whether we were doing drill, whether we were just, anything that we were doing, we had that with us, and it was part of our uniform. And so it's interesting to hear how different branches did that. Clover, what about you? Have you been getting any comments or emails or anything from new gunners asking different questions?
Yeah, I've gotten a few. I mean, some of it has to do with caliber, availability and difference in models, and some different things like that. So you can definitely tell overall there's more people on YouTube, online, on the internet, looking up things and looking at things, because I've gotten even more technical questions that obviously is not new gun owners that are asking that. And I say that, I mean, you've got some people out there that know a lot about firearms, but have absolutely zero experience with firearms. So, I mean, it's possible that could be somebody like that. I don't get in a big, long, drawn out conversation over it, but yeah, there's a few. I mean, and most of it is, like I said, it really doesn't deal with safety. I did have, the troll comments and the snarkiness and things like that pop up, and with the safety video I did, which is muzzle, action, trigger. We all know those rules: muzzle in a safe direction, action open, clear till you're ready to fire, finger off the trigger, right? And he popped off, the main rule. You forgot the main rule, which is always treat a gun as if it's loaded. And I'm thinking, well, what do you think M-A-T is? It's treating a gun, muzzle in a safe direction, finger off the trigger, action open and clear is treating a gun as if it's loaded. I don't understand, I don't understand some people. And then the flip side of that, we got to be careful. Tried to explain to him that you got to be careful when you're talking to new gun owners, because to tell a new gun owner that, always treat it as if it's loaded. Well, if they're a new freaking gun owner and they've never handled a loaded gun, then you're not telling them anything, right? So they need a little more instruction other than treat it like it's loaded. And then the caveat to that is how are they going to load and maintain and clean and do other things? They're going to have to, at some point, treat it as if it's unloaded. But in order to do that, they need to go through the safety process and know what that is to make sure that it's clear and unloaded before they start that, going down that process. We don't want to teach somebody just to buy a firearm, shoot it, throw it in a stand, and never clean and maintain. That's a safety hazard in and of itself.
Sure. Now, I was at the range last week, a few days. I went to the range today just for a few minutes for my own personal work and all that. I didn't shoot a video, but last week I was out there and there was a guy that literally came straight from the gun shop. He just bought his first handgun and bought himself a Glock 19 and all of that, and had, 3 or 4 mags. And I think he had about 200 rounds of ammo. And he had this bewildered look on his face, and you could tell that he had a question, but he was like probably embarrassed to say anything. And so I'm getting my stuff ready, and I look over there, and I've been there for this point by 5 or 10 minutes, and he hadn't popped off a round yet. And so I was like, something's going on, And I said, "How you doing?" We were talking all that, and I said, "What you got there?" He goes, "Oh man, I just got my first gun." And I said, "Oh, great." And so he was out there, and his buddy with him was a member, and he was over at the trap bay or something. So he's by himself. And I said, he kind of started looking at me, and I said, "Everything okay, man?" And he goes, "I got a question for you." And I was like, "Yeah, shoot." And he said, "How do I load this?" And I was like, "Oh my," I was like, to us, it's just natural to load a mag, throw it in. No one, he bought a gun, and no one told him how to load a magazine. No one told him how to put the magazine. No one told him how to rack the slide. Nothing. He was literally holding this gun and this magazine, and it got his ammo on the table, and was like, "How do I do this?" And so we spent the next 5 or 10 minutes, and I showed him how to load the magazine up and all that. But it was interesting. Once again, we have a lot of new gunners out there that literally don't know the first thing. Now, you were talking about someone that might not be a new gun owner, but new to whatever. And I want to bring in our good friend, John, Sandhill shooter from Nebraska. And John's been around firearms for a long time, obviously, but he is new to the AR game. And first of all, what's up, Sandy? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for the invite.
Oh man, anytime. It's one of those, and I have no idea what they're talking about there. But I know that you said that you are a new AR owner, and obviously being around firearms for a while and all that, you're not new to guns, but you are new to the AR. And I want to ask you is, you obviously know a lot of the stuff, but when you bought your first AR not too long ago, were there things that you weren't sure of, or were there things that you needed to ask questions with?
There were, to be completely honest, there was a couple things that I already knew. Clover, you kind of described me to a T here when you were saying there's people that know a lot about guns and don't have a lot of experience. I've been reading about guns and watching shows and whatnot for, since I was a kid, but that doesn't mean I've ever gotten to actually put hands on and, know what I've been reading about, what it actually looks or feels like until, here recently, especially when it comes to an AR. But I was already aware of how to manipulate the rifle, how to load and unload, how to pull the charging handle back and release the bolt, that kind of stuff. I was mildly aware of all that, how to pop the pins out and take it apart to separate the upper from the lower. But when it comes to like cleaning it, taking apart the bolt carrier group, all that, I had to watch some videos on how to do that. Travis B11's got a really good one where he shows you a lot of tips and tricks on getting stuff apart if you're new to it. So I watched that. And then the other day I was actually made a trip down to the town where Travis is moving to, and he was there. And I met up with him at a Shields All Sports. And we were in the gun cleaning aisle, and I said, "Dude, just tell me what I need, because there's $200 worth of stuff I could buy for this thing." And so, and I spent like $12, so there's some of the stuff that I knew I needed, and some of the stuff that I kind of figured I probably didn't need. So that was kind of very helpful as far as that part goes, just being able to be able to find out, not only what do I need to know to run this thing, but what do I need to know to maintain it once I get it back from the range. And just having contacts and having friends that already know this stuff is invaluable. And if you don't have somebody that personally you can reach out to, then I'll vouch for Travis or Ghost or Clover, any of these fellas. You can get a hold of them, email them. These guys are going to talk to you. They're going to treat you like you're not stupid for not knowing stuff. And if you've got any of these questions, they're going to help you out. So our community as a whole, just as gun owners, it's amazing. There are some people that'll shame you, but those are the exception. They're not the rule. It's good to be in this community.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Prior to your owning your first AR, you have shot an AR before, correct?
Yes, I pulled the trigger on one time in my life before that. But as far as actual experience with one, no.
Midnight Rain says his first AR is his most recent gun. Never shot one before, and everything he learned he did online. Took 15 minutes to figure out how to get the bolt and the charging handle back in. That's something that I'm not going to go into the manual of arms and all that. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about it, but a lot of people that are new, they get the charging handle back, especially if they've got, sometimes they don't realize that locking that charging handle back in is important. And I think it's bent or whatever, then you're going to have some serious issues. But there's little bitty things like that I think that the first time AR owners and all that. So I want to bring in Clover and Jeff real quick and just kind of start talking. I'll bring in Clover first and say, as far as the kind of the reasoning why ARs are seemingly, very popular, especially in America, what are one or two of the main reasons that you think that the AR is so popular?
First of all, I think we can't discount the fact of how long they've been around, right? If you listen to anti-gunners and you listen to popular media, then we got these crazy, scary rifles that we call ARs in like the late 80s or something. It's like been around since the 50s. You know what I mean? There's bolt rifles, there's lever rifles, there's handgun, there's all kinds of things that's been around. The Glock, the most popular handgun in the world, been around less time than the and probably used in more crime, right? Just going off statistics with handguns, of course, been around way less time than the AR-15 has. So, I think that's part of it, is that it's been around a long time and been fairly popular the entire time it's been around. And then, add to that, there's lots of reasons, and I'll let some others on the panel go over some other reasons, but I wanted to think of maybe some off the wall reasons that people won't mention. And then, to go along with this, been around a long time, especially since the scare we had. I've been into ARs since the late 90s or something like that. But since the scare and everything in 2013, once upon a time, you could buy an AK for $150 and it was $700 or $800 for an AR. That's completely flipped at this point. And it's all because of what we went through back in 2013 and all of the innovation and the cost of machining AR parts and doing things going down. And, it affected the game. So it's one of them things that now, not only do you have a rifle platform that has been around a long time, has always been popular, but now it's affordable for the vast majority of people out there. And I think that's a few of the reasons.
Absolutely. Jacob out there, once again, love Jacob. Jacob says he has never fired any semi-automatic firearms, so he wouldn't even know where to start with the questions. He doesn't know anything about ARs. Well, if you've got questions, this is the time to answer them, because not only us, but people out in the chat are very knowledgeable, to where hopefully we can get you some answers that you might want. Jeff, what about you as far as reasons why in the last, we'll just say 15 years after the assault weapons ban was lifted in 2004, so let's say 2005 and beyond, it's gone from maybe, I think I saw a number one time, it's like 100,000 in 2005 to like 1.5 million, like 3 or 4 years ago. We're in the market. Any reason as to why you think the ARs become so popular? And you're muted. You're muted, Jeff. Start over again. There you go.
I sound so much better when I'm muted.
You do. I'll say that. Yes.
I was sitting here thinking, when did I first come across an AR? And I think that so I didn't go into the military right out of high school. I did a couple years of college and then went into the Air Force as a reservist while I was still in college. So before I went to the Air Force Reserves, a friend of mine, I remember him showing me an AR, and he had it in the trunk of his car. There's a guy I worked with at the college radio station, and he said, "Dude, I got to show you something." And we went out, and he popped the trunk, and he unwraps it out of a blanket. And back before having a firearm on campus was a bad thing. No one cared. It wasn't against the rules, but he kept it in there because it was an AR. It was like this scary black. It didn't have any wood on it. You couldn't use it for hunting. It was scary. So that was my first introduction, and that I think that the reason I thought this story was relevant is it kind of speaks to the taboo that was around prior to this time period that you're talking about, where ARs just weren't something civilians could get a hold of. I was blown away that he even had this. I didn't think people could get them, even though it was semi-automatic, right? So when it did come around where they became a little bit more popular, I think part of the explosion in popularity really comes to that taboo, as well as the American spirit that says, if you tell me I shouldn't have it, I'm buying 10 of them. So, we saw that where some of the anti-gun folks got freaked out about, oh, it looks scary, and they start campaigning against them. And I think that really honestly drove the popularity, as people said, don't tell me what I can do. And said, well, I'm going to go buy some now.
Absolutely. We got to welcome in the gun snob from Oklahoma. What's up, snob?
Oh, just hanging out in the Tiger Kingdom of Oklahoma.
Yes, you are. I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole because that could take another 4.5 hours. Love Tiger King. But kind of going, what we're talking about is what are some of the reasons that you think that seemingly in the last 15 years, AR-15 has become America's rifle,
Oh, they're terrible rifles. They're black and they're scary and all that. I wouldn't have one.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't have any either. I'm sure no one in here has some. I know that Gary was saying that he shot his first AR last year and got his first one Wanamaker back in November, I think, and had some issues with it to start out with. Nothing it was his fault, but I think he's hooked now. So I want to bring Sandy back in and say, Sandy, when you decided to make that decision to go get your first AR recently, we were talking about what are some of the reasons why the AR is so popular. I want to kind of hear from a new AR owner is what were some of the reasons that you had in your mind as to why you were going to get an AR?
It's something that has just kind of been slowly growing on me. I have actually transitioned from I don't see the point of why people would want that, and I've never been the type that if I don't see the point, that doesn't mean I care if you like it. I've always been the type that's like, yeah, go have fun with it. It's just not for me. But the more I learn about them, the more I understand how easily adaptable they are to different situations and how easily they can be changed around, customized to fit anybody. And then you can do about anything with it. So depending on, how much money you want to spend, you can set one of these things up to go hunt coyotes. You can defend your home with it. You can set it up and even take deer-sized game with it. It's real easy to do that kind of stuff. So what I wanted to start with was just to have a rifle in the house that is good for defense. You never know what's going to happen, with all the stuff that's been going on in the news. The literally catching the virus is not a concern of mine. I'm not saying I'm bulletproof, but getting sick with coronavirus doesn't scare me half as much as some of the just flat out stupidity that I've seen. And this last week it's been a little better, but the week before that, it was not only spreading, but it was growing, at an astronomical rate. So just in case that I ever did need to bug out of here, I wanted something that that wasn't a bolt action deer rifle, just for defense or for just in case. So that's why I got what I did when I did. Decided to go ahead and make the purchase now instead of later, and then set it up as a defensive rifle with a red dot. It's not set up to reach out and make little bitty groups at long ranges. It's made to, make decent sized groups at about any range. Because I was watching a very cool video from a very esteemed YouTube channel about a 36-yard zero here recently. And it's Coda Boy 32 if you want to know who. No, I'm kidding. You both have good videos, but I did watch yours. So I did what you did and set mine up the same way so that it's 0 to 36 yards.
What do you think of the 36-yard zero?
I liked it. The range that I went to on Sunday, I can only push it out to 100, but at 36 yards dead on, and I didn't measure close in or shoot close in like you did, but at 25 yards, it's just an inch or so low. At 50, it was close to dead on. At 100, it was just a little bit high. So I know that
from 0 to 100 yards, you're probably going to be no more than 2.5 inches the most in a spread in your grouping at the most.
If anybody wants to see those pictures, go to my Sandhill Shooter Facebook page because I put them up there. And I didn't caption every photo, but I did explain in the main caption which range each target is at, so you can actually see where it printed with a non-magnified Vortex AR, Spark AR is what I have on there. It's a 2 MOA dot, so it pretty well covered up my bullseye at 100 yards.
Yeah. I want to think that maybe Guitar Man Pete means the manual of arms of an AR has appeared anywhere.
Minute of angle, I think so. He said MOA down there.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that yet. That just popped up. So yeah, and that's one of the things it's very easy to use for anyone. It's not going to take you very long to understand how to work an AR. There are many uses for, like we were talking, I think Clover and people were talking, you've got hunting, you've got competitive shooting, you've got training, you've got just having fun on the range. You got home and self-defense. There's so many different uses that you can get out of one platform. You can change calibers relatively easy. If you've got a good lower with the way that things are, you can change lowers and uppers, that are chambered the same or whatever, but you can mix and match. They're like Legos and Jeeps, like someone said. Someone's talking about you can really customize them. They're so modular that you can do basically anything you want. And I think that's the main reason is they're just easy. And with the way they are going now, prices are, maybe up higher a little bit right now, but for the most part, prices are cheap. You can get into a really good AR for $300. And if you can find a good, and it's one of these entry level, but sure, an entry level AR is going to do fine for you, and you can upgrade those parts or upgrade rifles as you go. But for $300, if you would have said that 10 years ago, 300, or hell, let's talk about 2013. For $300, you might not even be able to get a freaking trigger for an AR in 2013. Everything was just going out of their minds because everyone was buying them. But they are. Oh, go ahead.
Isn't that what the cost of a PMAG was in 2013? Was about $300?
Only on Cheaper Than Dirt.
Cheaper Than Dirt, yeah, for sure. No doubt. My God. But no, there are so many great things. And Midnight Range makes a good point up there. And let's talk about this. One of the main reasons is they just look cool. Let's be honest. One of the reasons why they're popular is they just look cool. They look like, for someone who has never been in the military and never handled an M16 or an M4 nowadays, they watch all the movies. They just look cool. And for a lot of people, that's the draw to them, is the way they look. I remember I was 19 when I first shot an M16, but my first AR platform, and I was scared. I was nervous. I was excited, all wrapped up into one. And I pulled that first trigger, and it just, something like clicked. You're just like, holy shit, this is awesome. So it's one of those that, It's great. Now, Calavera says some people can get into a basic AR for 150. That's only if you're the Tiger Queen, star Snoop Dogg over a Wanamaker. Not everyone can get that deal. But yeah, F&H out there, and Eugene Stoner back in the 50s. He said that that Gene Stoner got together and made it right on the AR-15. Yeah, and it's just one of those things where it was, honestly, the AR-15 was our answer to the AK-47. And the AK-47 came out, and we had to figure out, in the Cold War that was going on at the time, we had to figure out a rifle platform that could handle or keep up with the AK-47. And Eugene Stoner said it. And I want to say, was it, and Clover probably would know this, and anybody knows this, probably the 80s. When did the original patent of the AR-15 run out, when everyone could start producing? It was maybe the 80s or late 70s. I can't remember. It was 25 years or whatever it was, but I want to say the 80s maybe.
I can look.
I don't remember. Does anybody know that? I've heard Clover might.
It was in my video, but I don't remember what it was.
Oh, was it? At least how much I paid.
I believe it was in the 70s. I believe it was in the late 70s. So I mean, yeah, it's been a long time. Been a long time.
Yeah, but when you start seeing the late 70s, early 80s, whenever that was, when that patent ran out, and then everyone could kind of start building them, is good. And then you had a 10-year span where the assault weapon ban. What's
1977.
1977. There you go.
Patent expired.
And and then you saw probably 2010 it started getting more popular, and then obviously in 2012, 2013 is when the bang happened. No pun intended. The big bang for AR-15s is when President Obama decided he was going to try to get rid of them, and everyone started buying them. And now everyone seemingly has one. Everyone's got different accessories for them. And I think that that's one of the things I want to talk about next. Bring Jeff in, being with Gear Report. You've been doing Gear Report since 2009, and you've been doing firearms for what, maybe the last 5 years of that, maybe roughly.
Right.
When it comes to gear for AR-15s, is there a lot of those gear that people, is there a demand for wanting to know about different accessories, whether it's scopes, optics, whether it's foregrips, anything like that, those kind of things? Do they seemingly want to know more about the AR-15 as far as firearms?
Yeah, I think to the point that it gets a little frustrating sometimes to me, that it often feels like a lot of the people that they want to get the cheapest gun they can get and then pimp it, and they haven't even figured out how to use it yet. You know what I mean? So I think that when you talk about what kind of information for upgrades and accessories and other parts are people looking for, you really get a couple different groups. And one of the more recent ones are the social media people who they just want cool pictures to post on Instagram. And I see a lot of them that it's a new build every week, and who knows where they're storing them, if they have them in a safe, if they even shoot them, but they're making new ones every week. And I think as part of the attraction is aesthetically, you can do so many different things and post a completely different looking gun every week if you have a few $100 you can spend. And you can probably even get most of your money out of them after you build them and post the pictures. So I think that's kind of a neat kind of subculture thing that's been going on for a few years. But like you said, you can get so many different calibers. You can get one lower. Some states, this is one of the big benefits, I think, of an AR and a lot of different modular firearms that we're seeing come out more, is some states have restrictions on how many guns you can have, where you have to register them. It can be a real pain in the butt to be able to register a new firearm. So if you register the lower, now you can switch out. Maybe you register it with you bought it had a 223 upper on it. Well, you put you get a 300 blackout. You get a Grendel upper. There are a whole variety of things you can put on it. So I think that modularity is part of the attraction as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, first of all, Clover thinks you're picking on him, but that's okay. You probably are to some extent. Um, but I think that a lot of people are, the modularity is a big deal, because the AR market is not just about the rifle now. It's how it looks. And I think a lot of people, and Snob, Clover, and Sandy, feel free to just jump in, but I want to say that people nowadays are more worried about what the rifle looks like than actually how it operates. And that's part of that new kind of subculture that we talk about in the AR life, is really kind of what it looks like. What do you guys think?
Well, in the defense of that a little bit, I'll defend it a little bit.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that's a big deal.
Obviously, if you have different firearms set up for different reasons and applications and purposes, then they're going to look different. So, it's just because they look different doesn't necessarily mean that they look different because I wanted that particular aesthetic. It's that those particular accessories of the stock, or the, whatever, the handguard, the muzzle brake, or the whatever it might be, was whatever that was optimal for that particular caliber or that particular application. So, but yeah, I mean, aesthetics, I think, do play a huge part. And one thing that's cool about the platform is, you lay all your AR-15s out and you take a look at them, and at least it's this way with me. They've all got a specific reason behind the build. This one is a precision bench rifle. This one is a coyote rig. This one is my pig thumper. This one is to run quiet. This one is to run a certain, 300 blackout ammunition. One certain ammunition is tuned for that particular thing. And they all look different, sure, but they all look the same at the same time. And it's a strange dynamic.
Yeah. As far as what Jeff was talking about a little bit, about having a lower and maybe having upwards of 5 or 6 different uppers. I mean, as many as you want, maybe an uppers that would fit that lower. And you only had to register that one lower. So that's kind of cool. I actually, I know a buddy that has 2 or 3 lowers, but probably has, I don't know, I would say 12 to 15 completed uppers on his wall that literally just change them in, change them out, gone.
That doesn't work for me. I always say I'm just going to keep an upper and just switch it out on one of my lowers, and then I'm like, nah, I got to build a lower for that.
I think if you live in a state not like what Jeff was describing, if you live in a free state, for $150 or whatever it is, you can build a lower for. It makes no sense to me. This is personally because I live in Texas. It's a free state. We can pretty much do what we want. Makes no sense to me for another $150 or whatever it is not to just go ahead and have a completely different rifle. And then in the event that I have to arm a neighborhood or, something like that, I have a whole other rifle, not just an upper. So it just makes more sense for the cost involved to do that to me.
Absolutely. Sandy, I know that you were in a private chat, said you had something happen on Sunday. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, going back to that aesthetics thing. I mean, we had that very thing happen when we were at the range on Sunday. There was a fella there that I get the impression he wasn't a new gun owner, but he had won a 1022 recently at a gun show, and I think he was new to the 1022 platform. So I was trying to help him get his red dot kind of sighted in, and he was having troubles with the magazine. One of his 3 magazines was a bum one, so I took it apart and taught myself how to put a 1022 magazine back together, by the way. But as we were there, his wife was polite. She had, and she wasn't trying to start a fight, but she didn't have any problems making it known she's not a fan of guns. She doesn't like them. And so that didn't stop them from having them in the house. But, she said, I said, hey, that's a good looking gun. And she says, there is no such thing as a good looking gun. And then she looked at mine sitting on the rest over, a couple benches over, and she said, that thing just looks mean. I said, well, appearances can be deceiving, ma'am. I said, they work the same, these two. You pull the trigger, one shot goes off, and you got to let up and pull the trigger again for the next shot to go off. So they work the same. They just shoot a little bit different style of cartridge. But ultimately, mine puts the same size of hole in paper as your husband's does downrange. It's the same diameter of bullet going downrange, and she didn't know what to think about that. But
Right.
I mean, it's just, yeah, it looks scary. It looks like something that soldiers carry. That's not necessarily why I bought mine, but I'm not going to deny that I think it looks cool.
Sure.
I'm not going to go run around and pretend that I'm something I'm not. You know, I never was a soldier, and I'm not going to act like I know anything about what that's like. But at the same time, I mean, I think that's part of the reason why there's such a surge in popularity of this rifle, because, you know, there's very few people still alive that served that didn't get issued one of those in some form or fashion. So it's just what America knows now as the rifle. So everybody that served is already familiar with it. So why wouldn't they buy the civilian version of that when they come home if they didn't already have one?
That's a wonderful point. And I never thought about that, but absolutely, there are people out there that are serving, and when they get out, they want to continue shooting, and they are familiar with the platform. And I never really thought about that. I got out in 1998, and when I got out, I couldn't go and buy an AR. They weren't allowed. And I think I got my first M&P 15 was my first AR. I want to say I got that in like 06. I remember they came out in either 05 or 06, and I got it not too short after they came out. That was my first AR. So yeah, I remember in 06, 06 or 07, somewhere, whenever that first came out is when I bought that. And that was my first AR. And I remember thinking, oh, this is great, because, you know, I finally get to have something that reminds me of the M16A2. So, and that's why I liked at the time, I still do, but I like the M&Ps. They have the old A2 front sight on there, and they still do make those with the A2 front sight, which I love. Let's see here. Okay, I was reading some private chat. Sorry. No, but I think a lot of it comes down to, and I want to bring Snob in and Clover. Just you guys been doing this. This is jump in and start talking. You don't have to wait for me to call your name. But we're talking about different calibers, and we talk about having one lower and having multiple uppers, and or just having different rifles. The caliber thing is great, because I think that forever, even today, I would still say that bolt action are going to be a little more precise for long range shooting. But we've seen, I've shot Charlie's AR platform in 6.5 Creed out to 1,000 yards, and I'll bring these guys in because I don't have a lot of experience with long range shooting, but is the AR platform, when it comes to long range with the technology and the new calibers that are out there, the AR, is it a viable option for someone that wants to have long distance gun with an AR where they don't have to go with a bolt rifle? Is it something that people can really feel comfortable with? Well, anybody feel like they can jump in there?
Yeah.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I absolutely think it is. Not with the 223, but
no, like 6.5. I mean, I've even seen a 3.3 Lapua in an AR platform, which is kind of odd. But I've seen a 3.38 Lapua in an AR.
Well, I mean, there's semi-auto. I mean, obviously, there's semi-auto platform 50 BMGs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So capable, yeah. Optimal, capable and optimal, I think, are two different things. And so that's where I come down that, I'm far more precision minded than most people. And so for me, an AR-15 long range, it's not going to do it. Not that I never would have one or enjoy, shooting it still 1,000 yards with it or anything like that. But, in my mind, from my experience and with my skill level and everything else, all rolled up into my particular opinion, then, I'm going to go bolt if I'm going to go long range.
Yep. Snob Sandy,
I tell you,
AR, does that have anything to do with it? I mean, does long range have a place with an AR? Go ahead.
Well, I have an opinion on why I would choose to shoot it. As far as accuracy, I think a good AR is plenty accurate for long range. But as far as my reasoning behind it is, for some reason, when I get behind an AR, I will pull the trigger a lot more. than if I'm shooting a bolt action. And when you're shooting long range stuff, you're usually shooting a little more expensive ammo.
Sure.
So you'll spend a lot more money with an AR than you will with a bolt, at least in my world.
That's the kid syndrome, man. That's why I talk about all the time when you're starting out and teaching the young ones, get them a single shot, get them a bolt rifle, get them something like that, because you put them behind a 10-22 and they do not learn fundamentals. It's as fast as they can pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So it's a valid point. It's a valid point. I mean, imagine a 50 BMG in semi-auto. I mean, oh my God, you'd go broke.
Yeah.
Or the 338 you talked about.
Yeah, $5 a round. Yeah. That was before the crisis.
I know that you can set an AR platform up for long range, but ultimately I think about it, when I see the people that do long range precision shooting or bench rest competitions, I'm not seeing semi-automatics, because as a rule, and I know there's exceptions to this rule, but as a rule, you don't get the best accuracy from an automatic, right? It's like that bolt action seems to be just inherently more accurate as a platform overall. So that's what I see people shooting for bench rest and long range precision usually is some sort of precision rifle with a bolt action. So yeah, you can do it, but I mean, it's going to be one of those things where, if it was the best thing, everybody'd be using that one instead of what they're using. So I know that it must leave a little bit to be desired just from what I can observe.
Well, let's look at it from a practical standpoint, if you don't mind. The AR, from a price point standpoint, from a multi-use standpoint, from a familiarity and having a similar manual of arms among rifles that have different uses, which I think is a big benefit. You can get an AR. Like I've got a draft review from Caleb that we're going to publish. Probably get it up tomorrow on a pretty inexpensive, like $700-800 Palmetto State Armory AR in 224 Valkyrie, that he was consistently making hits at 800 yards and able to connect at 1,000 yards with a 90 grain round in this. And that's as far as he attempted to push it, was out to 1,000. For a familiar feeling and operating rifle that you can use for a variety of uses at that price point, that's insane. When you talk about the bench rest guns, so many of them that when I'm at the range and I see the serious bench rest shooters with their specialized guns, it's like, okay, is it really even a gun anymore? You've got this special rest and these custom huge machine. It's not even a hand grip underneath the barrel. It's like this big flat metal massive thing that locks into a to their rest. It's like, seriously, it's not even shooting anymore. I think from a practical standpoint, you could argue that you're still shooting with that AR.
Well, I would argue that's like saying there's absolutely no place for specialty tools. And just, it, to me, I mean, I want to have the best tool for the job, the most optimal tool for the job, if that's ever possible. So versatility is not particularly the issue. And I mean, it depends on everybody's situation and what they envision. I guess if you could only have one, if you're saying, okay, you can only have one rifle, what would you choose? And the answers are still going to be different depending on somebody's location and what type of scenario that you're in and that sort of thing. For me, I'm going to want something with distance and accuracy, and it's probably going to be more for long range, get them before they, even see me, and or, hunting application.
Yeah. And I'm the opposite. I'm not the precision guy. I'm more of I don't know if you want to call it a battlefield kind of guy, where as long as I can hit a silhouette out to 500 yards, 300 yards, I'm good. I'm not looking to get groupings the size of a quarter at 500 yards. I just want to hit a silhouette. So exactly, there's so many different uses. Jacob out there wants to know, now this is one of those that, good God bless them, I love them, but what's the best caliber for your AR? Now, this could go down so many rabbit holes because there is really no way of knowing what you're wanting to use it for. Then he came back and said hunting or just plinking. If you're talking about plinking, I think you go with 22. You're going to have a shit ton of fun with an AR and 22 for basically nothing. If you're hunting, let's talk about this. Open conversation, guys. Depending on what
are we hunting?
Just in general, what's a good caliber? Obviously 223, 556, but what are some other really good calibers AR seems to run great with?
We don't even have to debate this. The debate's over. It's done been settled. The science is spoken. I'm sorry. I vehemently oppose this topic.
Okay.
It depends on what you're hunting. If you're shooting varmints, prairie dogs, coyotes, whatever kind of chuck lives in your area, rock chuck or woodchuck, whatever. That's one thing. If you're talking about deer-sized game, that's a different thing. Hogs, that might be something different yet, which I don't have experience with hogs. So that's such a wide discussion. I think that we could safely say, and I think Clover might even approve this comment, there is no such thing as the best or the perfect fill in the blank gun, caliber, whatever. There's nothing that's going to do everything perfectly. There's going to be stuff that does a lot of things great and some stuff that does one thing really, really well. But when you get to looking at best, there's so many variables that you got to figure out what's best for you and what you're doing.
Anybody else want to jump in on the caliber issue?
The good news, uppers are cheap. Just go buy you an upper of each caliber.
There you go.
So better news, you can order them and have them shipped to your door because the upper doesn't require an FFL.
Sterilized. That's correct. That is correct.
Clover said that the caliber discussion is done and settled by science.
That's what he says, but yes, he's not answering it. So
he didn't say what it was.
That's right.
Everybody out there ought to know what it is. If you don't know what it is, then you're way behind the curve.
Okay.
You're way behind the curve.
Are you shaming me?
I mean, there's not that many companies that make 270 ARs, but I do agree 270 is the greatest caliber.
If you're talking it, and I will caveat, and I will say that what Sandy said is absolutely correct, and I joke around with the whole 300 blackout thing. I really do. It's definitely my favorite caliber, and the reason is when you talk about versatility, Sandy talked about the coyote versus the pig versus the deer versus when you've got a projectile weight and type range such as the blackout, 90 grain all the way up to 265 grain, that's a massive amount of versatility. The only drawback is range at that point. I mean, the 300 blackout is not at a long range. I mean, max effective range with the max effective round, let's say, that you're using, because there's such a variety. You're going to get 300 yards. Could you probably at 5 be effective? Maybe, but pushing it about 300 is about tops for me. So if you're inside,
is pushing it.
So I think if you're inside 300, 300 blackout to me is the king as far as versatility in a cartridge.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it all depends on what you're like you said, the reason why the 223 556 is so popular is it's cheap. And the 223 556 is a versatile round. Are you going to hunt big game with it? No. Can you hunt smaller varmint stuff? Absolutely, you could.
Oh, it'll put a deer down quick too. I mean,
exactly.
Don't let it fool you.
Yeah, you're not going to go hunt elk and bear with it, I don't think. But you can still hunt with a 223 556, but it's also just cheap, and I think that's why a lot of it is popular. Is it's readily available, and it's going to be inexpensive. 22 is obviously if you just want to plink. And you just want to have a really good time and you enjoy the AR platform and you just want to go have fun at the range or even competitive shooting, 22 LR is great. I would even say looking into the AR platform, we're still talking AR platform. I would talk like 9mm, some pistol calibers. I think that if you could go and stock up on 9mm ammo somewhere, you use for your handguns and your AR, that's probably the best way to go, because you can reach out to 300 yards with a 9mm and out of a carbine, and that's, unless you're Clover and you're looking to end someone's assault on the property at 1,000 yards, 300 yards is longer than people think. If you could go out at 300 yards, you're still going to be able to effectively do something. But you could also talk about doing 9mm for home defense. You could still use 223 for home defense. They have home defense rounds that are hollow point or whatever, they're talking at that level, but you can still utilize it from anywhere from 21 feet out to 300 yards, the 9mm through an AR. So it's all going to come down to what you're wanting to use it for. I particularly like 223 5.56. I think that if I were to go and get another distance gun, I would probably go with either 300 Blackout or possibly, Clover's been talking to me. It's not the most practical thing, but the ballistics of the 458 SOCOM are intriguing to me. I would really have no reason for it, just to have one. It would be kind of cool to have a 458 SOCOM. But I'm more running now. I'd probably go get a couple more 22s and some 9s, and I would just load up on 22s and 9s in those calibers, just because for what I do with training and competitive shooting and more stuff like that, I'm not worried about being precise. I don't hunt, so that doesn't really do anything for me.
And don't discount the 7.6239. I don't think either. I mean, that's one that hadn't been brought up. But when you're talking about when you're talking about ammo availability, that's definitely another option. I mean, you've got ballistically and some other advantages with that, potentially over the 223. I don't know that the readiness of ammunition, at least in this country, is going to be more than 223 5.56, but it's certainly a very popular round with millions upon millions, hundreds of millions, probably easily of rounds out there. So it's an option. The one thing that I caution with 7.6239 is there is some, and 300 Blackout honestly is gotten a lot better since I first messed with it back in my day, but it was super, super finicky back in the day. Still a little bit today. The 7.6239 I find in ARs are a little bit finicky as well. And one thing about it is, if you're talking about getting into an AR, it's your first AR, you want to alleviate as many problems as possible, 223 5.56. That's where it's at.
Absolutely. Yep. I've got an AR chambered in 7.62 by 39 because I've got 3 AKs and the AR all in 7.62, and I love the X39. I love that caliber. I love that round. It very well could be my favorite rifle round caliber. So I love that round. Oh, go ahead.
At the risk of sidetracking your chat here, is there a huge difference ballistically between 7.62 by 39 and 300 Blackout, or are they kind of similar as far as, not necessarily like, don't get into ballistic coefficients and all that because I don't understand it, but as far as real world capabilities, I've always kind of heard they were pretty similar.
I think that I don't have a ton of experience with 300 Blackout. I have some. I think Clover probably has a lot more than I do. But as far as the ballistics, it's really dependent upon, are you going to go subsonic with your 300 Blackout, which I think most people do. They can subsonic loads plus that's suppressed. So I think a lot of people do. So at that point, I believe there would be a huge difference in the ballistics of a 300 Blackout loaded subsonic and suppressed versus a 7.62 by 39, but I will yield the floor to Clover, who has more experience in the 300 Blackout, or Gun Snob, or Jeff, or anyone else.
And I'll let somebody else jump in. They can certainly give their opinion. Here's my simple opinion on this: is to answer that question, yes, they are very similar. Then to get into what Ghost is saying about with 300 Blackout being able to load subsonic and do this, you got to realize that while the 7.6239 is a 7.6239, it is not a 308 projectile. And so when you get into the talking about the various projectiles that you can load, which is one of the perks of the 300 Blackout is this wide swath of weight of projectiles and different applications you can use those for. That dwindles when you start talking about the 311s or the 312s of the 7.62-39 as far as the projectiles go. So I tried to keep it as little nerdy there as possible.
That made sense to my brain, Clover. Thank you.
Snob, Jeff, you guys want to comment on the 300 Blackout versus X39?
Yeah, I think that you can make 300 Blackout mimic the 7.62-39, but so the variety of loads in the 39, I think, is significantly less. It is way more common and way more practical. You're going to find so many more load recipes if you're doing it yourself, but even more importantly, so many more off-the-shelf options that so you can find one that is kind of designed or built or tuned for whatever purpose you're trying to employ it for, and you're not going to find that wide range of options for the 39.
Yeah, I want to say as far I think that you can emulate the 7.62-39 with the 300 Blackout, but you're probably not going to be able to emulate a 300 Blackout with a 7.62-39 with all the capabilities that you can do with a 300 Blackout cartridge and loads and all of that.
Right.
Snob, did you want to jump in? I'm sorry.
I was really going to say a lot of things Jeff just said. You know, as far as ammo availability off the shelf, you can buy stuff that's going to shoot just as good as the 7.62, or you can buy stuff that's totally made for a different purpose. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The question out there is about AR-10s and the 308 cartridge and all of that through an AR platform. AR-10s are fun as hell to shoot. The 308's a great round. It's an extremely versatile round. It's a great hunting round. It's a distance round. And through an AR-10, absolutely, it's a very versatile. What do you guys talk real quick about AR-10 and the 308 through an AR platform? What do you guys think?
I don't have an AR-10. I always said I was going to build one, but I've got a couple bolt action 308s, and
Yeah.
I'd just soon have it in a bolt action. I love my Ruger American 308 bolt action.
Yep.
308, I mean, again, you get back into not just 308 the cartridge, but 308 the projectile, and you get back into just the so many variants that are out there. I mean, look at the 300 Blackout, the 308 cartridge itself, the 300 Win Mag, and then I think that the 308, talking about the cartridge, is if you're talking about off the shelf, out of the box, off the shelf, you're not getting into crazy, widely available ammunition. You're not getting into crazy loads and specialized loads and things like that. I think that the 308 cartridge, I think it's that happy medium amongst all of your other cartridges that use the 308 projectile, if that makes sense.
Jeff, I know you've been trying to sneak in a word there. They keep, jumping over you. Go for it.
Well, the problem is that Snob intimidates me. I'm just going to say it. Yeah. So anyhow, and I was sitting here taking notes. 308 versus 6.5 Creedmoor, right? So we're talking about the contemporary AR-10 platform cartridges, and my favorite AR for a couple years was a 308. And I've taken one of the biggest deer with the most meat on it I've ever shot. I took with that rifle, and it just shoots well. It's got some. I don't really believe in the term knockdown power, but let's just go with that for now. And a little bit of range on it, and I was thrilled. And then a couple 6.5 Creedmoor AR-10 showed up for review, and I was like, whoa, okay. So it's got all the benefits. It does everything that the 308 does, plus it has additional range. Like, man, I kind of like this. So what's the drawback on that? Where could 308 maybe pull ahead and be a better option? Ammo prices for 6.5 are significantly more. And I've got some I've got some factory 308 subsonic ammo, and I don't know that I've found that in a 6.5 Creedmoor. It seems that kind of defeats the whole purpose of going to the 6.5 Creedmoor. So
I will say,
started out.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
While I started down this path of, oh yeah, I'm going to tell them why 6.5 Creedmoor is superior to 308, the more I started kind of putting things in the plus column for each one of them, like, wow, as long as I'm not trying to stretch out further than what I can comfortably do with 308, which you can do a lot with 308, you just get into more bullet drop. So I think if I had to pick one, if I could only have one between the two, I'd probably pick a 308, which is surprising to me. I really thought when I started this that I was going to say you're better off to just get a 6.5 Creedmoor.
No, I'll explain that. I missed something because it seemed like you were going down the road of 6.5 Creedmoor. Why the 308 again?
I think he talked himself out of the 6.5 midstream.
That you can get factory subsonic ammo for the 308.
Because of the subsonic. See, here's where I was coming down. I was waiting on you to mention what I was fixing to say about the 308. And we're talking about right now, today, into March 2020, right? Okay. You're only going to get one rifle. It's one caliber, whatever. Right now, we're talking about a new firearm owner, and you're going to stockpile. You're going to load up on ammunition. You buy that 6.5 Creedmoor, you stockpile ammunition. The world falls apart on you.
Yeah.
You run out of ammunition. 308's been around for a very, very, very long time. There's a lot of it out there. Okay, on the flip side of that, you don't run out of ammunition, but your 6.5 Creed falls apart. But something breaks, something busts. You need a new firearm, right? Or you need to find parts. Again, the 308 has been around so long. The odds of you're stocked up on 308 ammunition. The odds of you being able to find another 308 firearm to use with that ammunition is far greater than a 6.5 at this particular point in history. Now, 20 years from now, if somebody's watching this on the new form of YouTube or something, who knows? But right now, I think that 308 is still a safe bet for the first-time firearm owner.
Now, they're out there some discussion about the 54R and talking about 7.62. If you're talking about the 308, I would say that the 7.62 by 51 is something that you could look into. I still think you can still shoot a 7 by 51 down at a 308 barrel. So the 7.60 by 51 is a good round. The 54R is really good as well. But I want to say the 240, back when I was shooting the 240, we didn't have the 249 back when I was in. The 240 was a 7.62 by 51, and that was a pretty badass freaking gun. So if you're in a shit it's the fan, you could come across a 240, and you've got a bunch of 7.62 by 51. Go for it. Well, it's just basically a 308. So don't forget about the 51. Don't forget about the 51. I know that the 39 and the 54R are the sexy, most popular 7.62 rounds, but the 51 is something you guys might want to think about as well. Let's kind of go into one last thing, and I want to talk about, maybe it was Sandy that was talking about the person that saw maybe Sunday about the way it looks and how much of the modularity and how much of the different aftermarket accessories, where if you want a pink and black AR, you can have a pink furniture, you can have whatever color you want. How much of that is one of the reasons that there you go, that maybe the AR platform is so, I don't know, popular with new gun owners, is you can literally make it into whatever you want to look like, and especially the colors. Now it used to be just, you could get an FDE or black, and then all the furniture and all that was either FDE or black, but now you could literally make up whatever you want to. How much of the absolute appearance, the color and the appearance of an AR, is that what brings people to the AR? You think color plays a game into it?
I'm going to say not a whole lot. And the reason I say that is when I go to gun stores or even when I look online, I'm not seeing a whole lot of AR platform rifles that are coming, stock, outfitted with pink furniture or fill in the blank color furniture. Most of them come out of the box black or FDE, and then you go and spend the money on the aftermarket furniture you want, deck it out how you want to. So I don't think that that's necessarily the selling point as far as the multitude of colors, because a lot of people, until they get into the world and have actually started looking at this furniture, I don't know that a lot of people even knew what colors were out there. I had that experience. I mean, it didn't surprise me, but I just never thought about it before, that I could get, name brand stuff, Hogue stuff in pink and everything else, and the other thought that I have is, in this day and age with Cerakote being so popular, there's no such thing as a gun that you can't make it whatever color you want or pattern you want to now. So I think that has kind of become more of a moot point than what it was even 10 years ago. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Clover, I think you had something in the chat.
Yeah, I don't think it's a moot point. I think it's absolutely a selling point because of the amount of accessories that are already out there that are colored, being anodized, Cerakoted, injection molding, color, whatever. And the reason that you don't see a lot of colors when dealing with firearm companies is a very simple reason. It's not because people don't like that. It's not because that's not a selling point. It's not because they wouldn't sell some if it was out there, but that's added cost for them to do. I mean, how do you, I run into this on a very small level when I buy my caps. I got to order 12 at a time minimum, and I got to figure out which colors to get, and I'll get certain colors. And out of this batch, I sell more green ones. And then I think, okay, well, I need more green ones. And then I buy more green ones, and then everybody asks for blue ones in the next batch. You know what I'm saying? And so you ramp that up on a big scale, and that's why you don't see firearm companies doing it. But I don't believe it's correlation causation. I believe that that has no effect on the popularity of people customizing their stuff. Now, what I find interesting is the Gucci Glock hate, right? The people that, it's the Gucci Glock or whatever. And then look at some of these ARs that's out there and nobody says anything, right? And it's like, that thing's got everything on it but the kitchen sink and a coffee maker, and it gets absolutely no hate, but yet we're going to complain about a Gucci Glock.
Fair enough.
About all of them.
You complain about all of them?
I can. I mean, sure. I don't want to offend someone by leaving them out.
Jeff just likes to complain, though.
He does. Oh, he's an equal opportunity complainer.
You're not going to silence me, snob. I see how you're looking at me. I see what you're doing.
Jeff, can I let you in on a secret?
If it's not going to hurt my feelings.
Snob's not all that intimidating. You just got to learn to do what all the rest of us do and just ignore him.
Yeah.
Jeff loves me.
I think that the discussion of the aesthetics really it comes into people who get into it for completely different reasons.
That's right.
You get the tactical where they got every cool thing you could ever imagine hanging off of the gun that I think Clover may have just been alluding to. And then you get the people that, it used to be you get an AR in any color you want as long as it's black. But now those people some of them may have had absolutely no interest in an AR if the only thing gets black. But now, I mean, at SHOT Show, I spent some time in the Odinworks booth, and I don't think they had a black part in that whole booth. Or you go to what is it, Timber Creek or something that I get an email from every single day.
Every day.
Yeah. Like, why did I give you my business card? Yeah. So, but really, their business is about being able to offer these different colors, and it's because there is a segment of the market that they'll build anything if it's a cool color.
Yeah.
Well, also to do with like the Cerakote and stuff, at least me personally, I ain't gonna Cerakote a nice, wood stock bolt action rifle or lever action rifle or something or even semi-auto rifle if it's a wood stock nicer rifle. Blue, but you get ARs, they're I'm going to say they're kind of like a dime a dozen, and you don't care if they're Cerakoted because they're just
And
anodized
if you
anyway.
mess up on the handguards, you go spend $20 and get some new handguards, you know?
Yeah, or, you just re-Cerakoted a different color or something because, I've got several ARs that are Cerakoted. One of them is my red and black goofy one. But, I can always just turn it back black if I ever really want to sell it, or anything like that.
Right.
And it's not like you're hurting the value of an AR by Cerakoting it, really.
Correct.
Other than maybe obnoxiousness.
Well, that's a whole nother level, though. It's a whole nother level. But no, I tend to agree with the argument that I think that the colors and all of that does make a difference. And I'm not saying that you're wrong, Sandy. I understand where you're coming from, that people will buy an AR because they want an AR. But I think that there is something going down. It's the same thing as like the 1911 person. A person who really is into 1911s, though, they can get custom grips that does and says whatever they want it to be, whether it's wood or they want a logo, whatever. The 1911 game with the grip accessories is just stupid. But I think that the AR is, I think people know in the back of their mind, I'm going to go buy this simple $300 black AR. But I know with $120 down the line, I can make this look battle worn. I can make this look anything that I wanted to make it look like. And I truly believe that, and I know what you're saying. Are you talking about the battle worn, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a thing, though. It's an absolute thing.
Is he bashing my battle worn?
I love battle worn. I've got a battle worn that I love, but yeah, he's not a big fan apparently.
I saw a thing yesterday. We want to talk about things. You take a toilet paper roll without the toilet paper and put in a drink and drink through it. And in order to drink through something at high volume, you got to really suck on it. And people tend to suck it straight into their lungs. And apparently people think it's funny to trick their friends into almost drowning by just drinking through a way too big straw.
And so that has to do with a battle worn AR.
I'm lost here.
Now. Yeah, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but Jesus.
The analog there is that they're both stupid things that people do. So just because it's a thing doesn't mean it has value or should be done.
But here's the beautiful thing about an AR is you can do stupid things to the AR and it's still going to run. And I think that's what the draw to the AR is. You can go and make that thing look like an absolute weapon out of Halo or Call of Duty with everything tricked out. And if that's what you want to do, you can. Or you can just get a simple rifle and keep it the way it is with the A2 front sight and not change a thing. And I think that is one of the things that is nice about the AR is literally your options are endless, that you can do whatever you want to. And I think that is kind of the whole point of the AR is it's a good rifle. It's an accurate rifle. It's a low recoil for the most part, rifle in comparison. It is something that is relatively lightweight. It is something that a new firearm owner can learn the manual of arms relatively easily and quickly. So I think that all of these add up to, yes, a bolt action is a lot more accurate probably. But for someone who's not trying to go and make the Olympic team, an AR is going to be something they can still hit the target with at 1,000 yards. They're still going to be able to plink all they want with certain calibers, and they're going to be able to do competitive shooting. They're going to be able to hunt. They're going to be able to, do training. They're going to be able to do whatever they want to. And I think that it gives the end user the most options of any rifle out there. Now we're talking AK is going to give you a lot of the same options, but an AR platform versus, let's say, bolt action or lever action or all that, it's going to give you much, much more options than that. So I think that is where it's really, holy cow. That's a great question. All right, so we're going to jump in this before. It'll be our last question of the night. Jacob says, here's a question from someone who has never cleaned a firearm. How long does it take to clean their AR? And that is depending upon how much you shot it between your last cleaning, how thorough of a job. I mean, are you talking inspection ready, white glove inspection ready cleaning? Because I would say 15, 20 minutes for a really not a white glove, but 15 to 20 minutes will be able to clean most ARs to where you don't have to worry about the buildup of the carbon and all that. What do you guys think is the average length of time to clean an AR?
You know, I am in one of two camps, and it just depends. Some days I will spend an hour and a half, and I'll run patches through it and scrub it until the patch is still clean. And other days, if I bother to squirt a little CLP on a boar snake and rip it through, that's a good day.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think a lot of it, once again, it comes down to how long has it been since you last cleaned it. You know, if you've only put 100 rounds through it, then it's not going to take you that long probably to clean a lot of it. If you've put 1,000 rounds through it, then it's going to take you a little bit longer to get it. And then once again, how clean do you want it? Are we talking inspection clean or functional clean? So go ahead, Clover. Were you going to say something?
Oh, it totally depends on, how much and how often you shoot. I mean, if you're going to, you're absolutely right. You and Jeff both, that there's a difference between inspection and long-term storage clean. It's another way to put that too. If it's going to sit in a safe for months and months and months before you ever shoot it again, then yeah, it probably needs to be absolutely spotless and lubricated and everything else before it goes in. On my end, I'm probably going to be shooting mine within a week or two at absolute most. So, for me, if you regularly how do I want to word this where it makes sense? The more often you clean, the more regularly you clean, the less it takes to clean it, if that makes sense. And that's kind of like anything, of course. So, if you, like Jeff was talking about, spray some CLP, some cleaner, rip a boar snake, little bit of toothbrush here and there on some stuff, spray some lubricant on it and go. And you do that even if you're out on the range every week or every other week, then you really never get to a point that you have to spend a whole lot of time and do a thorough cleaning on it. My experience.
Yep. Snob, Sandy, you want to jump in on this one about cleaning?
I did it for the first time the other night. Just took it apart and tried to sop up all the excess oil that Ruger likes to pack their rifles in, because this thing was dripping wet when I got it out of its box. But, the first time I ever took everything apart, pulled the buffer out and the spring there and separated the bolt carrier group. I pulled the firing pin out, and I pulled the bolt out of the carrier. I did not disassemble the bolt. Wiped everything down as best as I could and tried to, swab out the chamber and the bore and whatnot and get it all back together. I bet it took me 20 minutes. I mean, it wasn't a real thorough cleaning, and I didn't have to scrape anything. There was no buildup yet. But just to try and clean it up enough so it's not going to spray me in the face with oil when I shoot it, about 20 minutes there. So, and never having done it before, I'm thinking if I actually have to put some elbow grease into it, I just assume 20 minutes is going to be about right down the road.
Now, Sandy, I know that you've got your show coming about in half an hour, so you probably need to bolt here in a minute. Do you want to plug anything before you jump out? I'm just, you don't have to jump out. I'm assuming whenever you do.
You read my mind.
To where you can
actually, I am going to get going so I can get that set up and get some links emailed out. And anybody that's listening here is sure welcome to join us over on Sandhill Shooter. We're going to kick off at 9:00 Central. Tonight on the Get Off My Lawn podcast, we're going to talk about rights and responsibilities. And just because you have the right, does that make it the responsible thing to do? And then also a little bit about what you touched on here a week ago, Ghost, is, new gun owners have some responsibilities that maybe they don't know that they have as gun owners. And those of us seasoned gun owners have some responsibilities to the new people in the community. So we'll touch on that too. So we've got some stuff happening, and hopefully it gets people fired up, and I fully intend to step on toes with some of the things that I say. So if you just want to come and see if there's any fireworks, come on over. and I'm going to jump out. So thanks for letting me in here, Ghost.
Appreciate you, brother.
Later, Sandy.
Snob, were you going to say something earlier about that?
I was just going to say I've made it a habit to start cleaning my bolt if I shoot, like, if I go out and actually shoot it, not if I go out and shoot 10 rounds to it for some reason or shoot a coyote or something. But if I do that, I take my bolt apart and just clean the carbon off, just because it makes it so much faster to clean it whenever you actually take it down and clean it all the way.
Right.
If you don't have to scrape carbon off the bolt for 30 minutes because you let it build up for 5,000 rounds.
Yeah. Mad Sexy up there says, how long did it take me to clean it to military specs? Now, once again, it talks about, am I looking for, we had inspections every now and then, and those were white glove and literally a white glove. So we had to get those things to where, I mean, that would take you several hours probably if you wanted to just break it down and be like perfect with it to where you're going to pass an inspection. But it also depends on where you are. So if you're in Okinawa, Japan, or Camp Pendleton, and you're by an ocean, people don't realize what salt water in the air can do to a rifle. It can rust before you even believe that it happens. It's already rusted. So, we were cleaning ours all the time. So we weren't necessarily making huge cleanings all the time, but we were always cleaning it, scrubbing it out, making sure that it wasn't rusting. Rust is the enemy to a rifle. You're talking about being out in the desert and if you're downrange or whatever, even if you're in Pendleton or at the 29 Stumps or wherever, but you're in the desert, you don't realize dirt and dust can get everywhere in a rifle. It can get into nooks and crannies that you didn't know existed in that rifle, and those little bitty things builds up of dirt can make a rifle malfunction. So it depends on where you are. But if you're talking about in the military, if you're talking about for an inspection, it could take several hours. It could take an hour a day for 2 weeks if you want to make it perfect. If you're talking about just regular maintenance of a rifle, if you're talking about somewhere where you're around an ocean, going to be different kind of cleaning. If you're talking about being downrange in a desert or something, it's going to be a different kind of cleaning. So there's always going to be something, if you're downrange, they're going to have you probably clean your weapon every day. When you get off patrol and you get back inside the wire from whatever patrol you are in Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever the hell you are, you're going to clean that rifle. That's going to be part of it. If you're doing training, you're going to clean it as soon as you fire it. You're going to clean it every time you fire. Not every time, but every day when you get done firing your rifle, you're going to clean it. A lot of armories won't accept the rifle back into the armory unless it is damn clean. That's just the way it is in the military. So it is what it is. But you also, like I said, there's a lot of things. You have salt water in the air. That's going to be a huge one. You've got dirt, dust. It's just, when you talk about the military stuff, there are so many different variables that go into cleaning. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I'm sorry. I went down it long enough, but that was a question. So,
well, I can tell you that you get caught in a rainstorm in Central Texas.
Yes, you can.
You're going to need to clean it too.
Well, you might have to get it re-Cerakoted.
You might have to get it not re-Cerakoted, but Cerakoted.
Oh, Cerakoted, yeah. That, and it wasn't, it was only exposed to the rain for a couple minutes. And it wasn't
undercover. It was just rain that was falling in on it. It wasn't like it was in a downpour. Yeah.
Jacob says, how do you think the guys in the trenches of World War II cleaned their rifles within the trenches? I'm going to be honest with you.
They didn't for the most part.
They didn't. They probably didn't. Honestly, they probably didn't.
You don't think much,
what's that, Jeff?
Much peeing down the barrel?
I don't think there's a whole lot of cleaning going down the trenches, especially now. If you're talking about trench warfare, you're talking World War I, then they probably didn't clean it hardly at all.
I'm literally asking if have you heard of back when all the ammo was corrosive, and if you didn't clean it really quickly, you could have big problems? That urine literally peeing down the barrel was how they did a lot of cleaning.
I have not heard of that, no, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you're talking about, okay, so you're out in a war and you're outside the wires and you're in trenches. It's muddy. It's all of that. You're going to have to clean that barrel. You have to clean that bolt carrier group out somehow, some way. And I promise you this, you're probably not going to use your canteen to waste on that rifle. I mean, let's be honest. You might be outside the wire for 2 weeks, and the only time you're filling up your canteen is when you find a stream or something. Probably not wasting that canteen water. So absolutely, the thought of peeing on it is at least somehow going to maybe do something. I've never heard of that, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
Well,
into a situation that you're just surviving, you'll do whatever it takes.
not just that, but water wouldn't do, when you're talking corrosive ammo, wouldn't do just a whole lot of good either, because you're talking about a chemical reaction. And so I was told one time before, I don't even remember, I think I bought a CZ52 once years ago. Well, I've still got it, but bought it years ago and was showing it to an old timer one time. And he very well could have been in World War I or World War II. And he was talking about the corrosive ammo in that, which, I mean, I knew about. And, if I shot it very much, I mean, I cleaned it immediately. And if I shot the corrosive ammo anyway, and he was talking about spraying it down with Windex, is what he said. And there was something with Windex, and it was a chemical reaction. And if you didn't have time to really take it down and clean it thoroughly, then at least, very liberally spray it down with Windex and wipe it down. So it's something to do with a chemical reaction, apparently.
Yeah, it's ammonia. Same thing with urine, ammonia.
Yeah. Yep. Interesting though. I know I haven't heard of that, but I mean that there would be no reason why you wouldn't do that. I mean, really, there's just, in that kind of a situation, you're going to use whatever you have available, and it is what it is. Jacob's out there is wanting to know what a Cerakote is, and it's ceramic coating that you can put in now in through like what they call ovens. It's not like an oven. I guess you could use an oven, but it's not an oven that you think of. Snob is a Cerakoting guy. I'll let you maybe explain the process so Jacob understands what you mean by Cerakoting.
It's a ceramic based. It has little tiny amounts of ceramic in it, and you spray it on and then bake it on, and it's really durable and will not rust. And if you do it right, it's pretty scratch and wear resistant too. It's pretty great stuff, and you can get it in all different colors, like orange or just black or blue.
And you have videos out there that kind of go through the process of how to Cerakote. So if you're out there, Jacob, and you do get a firearm or think about Cerakoting, Snob's got a couple of videos that kind of walks you through the process of Cerakoting, which are pretty cool. Clover's got a question about Cerakote as well.
Yeah, we were talking about battle worn earlier and not giving away a trade secret or anything, but how does one go about with Cerakoting? I've been exposed, obviously, and if anybody's curious, I don't know if you've got any videos up, Snob, you probably do with Cerakoting, but I've got one from 10-8 Tactical, the rifle we talked about that got caught in the rainstorm, kind of going through the process. But on the battle worn, is there an easy way to explain the process of how you make it look like that?
Yeah, it's really easy. And I actually have a video on how to do the battle worn. But all it is you spray your base coat on, your color you want to show through. Like my AR is red, or my Polymer 80 is white on the bottom. And I spray that. I bake it for like 15, 20 minutes till it's good and, tack-free, set up decent. Ready to spray my second coat. Spray my second coat. And then just bake it for like 10 minutes, just till it's barely tack-free. And then take a red Scotch-Brite pad and just sand it with a Scotch-Brite pad, basically. And the more you hit it in certain spots, the more the top color, you just spray a light coat of like the black over, and that color will just rub off, or you sand it off, and then it shows.
There you go. So if you were going to do, like, say, a battle-worn Cerakoting job from start to finish, how long do you think that takes? A couple hours from start to finish, you think?
Well, the problem is you have so much like dry time, and then you have to bake it to degrease it and all that. So it's a lot of standstill, but actually working time, probably an hour.
An hour. Okay. So there you go. So if you're out there and you're new to ARs, but you want that battle or just any kind of Cerakoting. And Cerakoting is something that is going to help be a protectant for that AR as well. So that is something that people think about. And I know that Clover has some experience on what rust can do to a barrel of a rifle, and had to go get it Cerakoted. And how has that worked out for you since?
Quick. Well, I haven't got caught in another rainstorm. Probably never will. But
it's prepared for it if it is, though.
Yeah, it's holding up well. It's homeboy did a good job. And all the stuff I've seen Snob do, by the way, is good work too. So
yeah,
but yeah,
I've actually send some stuff to. I like to drop some stuff off it. So he only lives a few hours from me, and have him do some work for me on a couple of things that I've actually seen some work that Snob does on Cerakoting, and it's very, very good work. So if you're out there, get a hold of Snob. And I don't know if a Snob wants you to get a hold of. He might not be wanting to get into their Cerakote game right now, but if you're interested, yeah, he's good and all of that. Do I have a firearm that has been Cerakoted? No, I do not own any firearms that have been Cerakoted. That's why I want to get a couple. I want to get a handgun and one of my ARs Cerakoted, and kind of I would say more like an FDE. And when I say this, Snob will understand what I mean. Probably everyone on the panel will know what I mean, but an FDE themed, Marine Corps themed, on a matching Glock and an AR, I think would be kind of cool. Maybe, I don't know, Battle Worn might be I never thought about Battle Worn. I was thinking maybe FDE with Marine Corps logo on the grip, and then on the AR having the Marine Corps logo on like the Magwell or something like that would be kind of cool. But Battle Worn would be kind of interesting on the Glock and an AR. So
you're not going to do the Crayola logo at all?
They might have to fit the Crayola logo somewhere. Probably not on the on the Glock, but I would probably say that the Crayola might have to go somewhere on the rifle.
I want a Nintendo Zapper so bad. I really do.
I always say I'm going to make one, and I never have done it. That or a DeWalt or a Milwaukee one.
Oh yeah, definitely one of those. Yeah, power drill.
Yeah. I keep thinking I'll do that, and I keep thinking I'll find like an old Glock 22 gun show, LEO trade-in. It's pretty rough, and do one of those. And
I've seen the Shockwave with the big grip, loop around grip on the pump, done in the steel chainsaw colors, which is really cool.
Yeah, cool. Stop reminded me. I actually do have a firearm that's been Cerakoted. I forgot about my Canic. My Canic is the OD green. It's been Cerakoted. I forgot about that. So yes, I do have, but I didn't do that. It came that way. I forgot about that. But they're saying you need an FFL, Snob. They're saying you need an FFL.
I know. I have the paperwork laying around here in one of these file cabinet drawers somewhere. It's always, I've had it all filled out, and I never did go get my fingerprints done. That was all I liked.
You know what the wait in Oklahoma's for? How long it takes?
I think it's like anywhere. I mean, it's federally. I think it's all the same, about 30 to 60 days. I talked to
it all depends on like how quickly the representative in your state can come and do the.
I'm sure right now it's not real.
Well, not right now, but they got to come and do the what do they call it? They call it the tour of the facilities. So
I talked to him on the phone about it, and they basically said, we're going to come out, we're going to sit down and go over all the stuff with you. And he said it takes about 45 minutes to an hour is what he told me. And
okay,
I just never did go do it. I need to do it.
And I know that Clover's talked about doing. I've actually thought about. Jeff, have you thought about doing an FFL?
Yeah, I had a CNR for a few years because I was really doing more old milsurps. That's what I was into a few years ago. But I'm on the Quarter Horse Arms FFL 07 and SOT. So I was about to do it when I hooked up with Alan, and he was like, "Yeah, man, come on, I'll add you to the FFL." So I'm official. So I don't need to get one myself.
Yep, same here with me. With getting hooked up with a local gun shop and technically working through them, it just, for me, the drawback, and folks out there that's following me know, mine is just, I would love to do it because I have access to a lot of police auctions and things like that I could bring in a lot of used guns, which would be cool not only to be able to sell those to people looking for stuff, but be able to cherry pick, obviously, and keep what I want,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And for me, the biggest thing right now, especially, I was thinking last year I was going to do it, and then it didn't work out. This year I thought maybe I'll get to do it. Well, with all of the things going on now, it's doubtful, but I've got to have a building, unfortunately, because I would be an actual. It wouldn't be just like a Cerakoter or something like that. I mean, I would need a facility I could lock up and get safes in there and all that good stuff. An actual storefront, more or less.
So let me ask you guys this. This show keeps kind of dragging along, but I'm having fun with the conversation. Guitar Man Pete out there says, has FFL informed that you can send a firearm to a family member as long as it's in 2 boxes? He did, and it works. Have any of you guys ever done that before? I have not.
You can ship a long gun within the state of Texas. Pete, it was Pete that said that.
Yeah.
In the state of Texas now, as far as a handgun, I don't think so.
Yeah. No,
but as far as a long gun, you can put it in the same box. You can ship it to yourself, or you can whatever
within the state, though.
Within the state, yeah.
Interesting. I had not heard about the 2-box shipping. I don't think I'm going to try it out.
Immediate family member, or ship it to yourself. And the easiest way to do that is ship it and address it to yourself anyway.
Right.
People do that all the time. I mean, people do that and send them to different states. Even it's talking about long guns and stuff like that for hunting purposes. They'll ship their hunting rifle to whatever outfitter or whatever it is, and then pick it up once they get up there.
Sure. All right. It's been an awesome chat, and I know that it's gone a little longer than I typically go, but it's been interesting and fun. Jeff, you want to give a plug or a shout out or anything that you want to talk about Gear Report and what your plans are or what you got going on?
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of reviews that are going to drop real soon. Arcan Optics and a 224 Valkyrie and some reloading content that's all queued up. I just have to get it edited and posted. So look for those in the next few days. And if you have time, Friday night at 8 o'clock, we're doing This Week at Gear Report as a live broadcast on YouTube. So join us for that. The parting thought, all you guys are dead to me because guns that are painted like toys are wrong, period. Not debatable. That Nintendo shit has got to go.
All right, Clover, rebuttal, sir. You have 2 minutes on the clock and it starts now.
Oh, I got to rebut that?
I figured you might want to.
Let me clear my throat. One word. America.
Snob, you want to plug anything or talk about anything or rebut the Nintendo schmear that Jeff just gave out?
We've all been wrong before in our lives. And at this point, Jeff is wrong. Clearly, at the end of the day, Jeff is wrong. That's all.
There you go. What you got coming up? You had what did you just have? You had this old gun come out. I saw on notification, but I haven't watched it yet. What is this old gun?
It is the SIG, a West German SIG P220.
Oh, nice. Okay, nice.
So yeah, it came out yesterday. So go watch that if you haven't. Everybody, please.
We'll do.
Or don't. I don't care.
Plug your channel a little bit if you want to. It's up to you.
Just watch my junk.
There you go. I'm not going to watch your junk.
Let me rephrase that. Watch my videos.
I'm going to watch that either. I might watch your videos. But I'm not going to watch your junk or your stuff. I appreciate you coming on. Tiger King might watch it, but I won't.
I don't know if he gets the cable or my YouTube channel in the jail, so I don't know.
They probably got a
prison. It's a federal prison, so he's probably pretty good off.
Yeah, he's got access, maybe at least an hour or two a day. He'll have access to it. You never know. Clover, what you got going on? You want to plug anything? Talk about upcoming projects? What you got?
In the immediate future anyway. Gonna bounce from here in about 10 minutes or so. I'll be over there with John Crump hanging out. So come over to Crumpy's channel if you want to check that out. I believe it's just John Crump here on the YouTubes. Or Sandhills will be firing up here before too long. Either way, got plenty of stuff to watch and stay engaged tonight. Thanks for the chat.
Yep, thank you. And as far as we're gonna go, we've got a couple videos coming out in the next few days. Probably I think Thursday and either Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember when I scheduled them. I know Thursday's got one. It's either Saturday or Sunday. The second one's coming out, so we'll have those come out the rest of this week. Thanks for all for joining. If you're live, thank you so much for always watching. Thanks to all of our patrons over there. You guys are amazing, and thank you for all that you're doing for the channel. If you're watching in replay or listening in podcast form, once again, if you have any questions or comments, whatever, let us know what they are in the comment section below. And if you have questions for any of these guys, then you can leave them, and I'll make sure that they get those questions. Make sure you go check out Clover Tack and the Gun Snob and GearReport.com and not just on YouTube, but on their websites or Instagrams, whatever, and especially Gear Report. Go check out gear-report.com. Clover and I are contributors to those reviews, and Jeff's been doing this for over 10 years now, and they've got reviews for anything and everything you can possibly think of that is outdoor related, not just firearms, but hiking, hammocks, camping, fishing, anything that you guys can, Humvees, anything you can think of that goes to the outdoors, and all of that. So go check those out. You got Sarge coming in saying first. Appreciate you, Sarge. Lee Scott says, what up, goes? Good to see you. Well, so what's up, Lee? And Jake is out there. John Crump, C-R-U-M-P. Go check out John here in about 10 minutes, and Clover will be on with them and all of that jazz. So, guys, once again, thank you as always for watching. We hope we didn't make it too boring. We hope we didn't make you any dumber. Which is obviously a thing that I worry about all the time, because I can't really lose many more brain cells, but hopefully we didn't cause you to lose any more brain cells. But thanks again for everything. We'll see you soon. Semper Fi.